You know, when we think about bird romance, we usually picture that classic scene, right? A sweet, dedicated pair building a nest together, totally in sync. And look, it's a beautiful image, and for a lot of birds, it's absolutely the truth.
But what if that classic story is just like page one of a much bigger, wilder, and way more surprising book? Is that perfect postcard image of one male, one female, forever, really the only way things work out there?
Let's get right into it. The key thing to remember as we go through this is that these different ways of pairing up, they're not wrong or weird. They're all different stories of what works. They are all stories of evolutionary success. Because in nature, there's really only one rule. If it helps you pass on your genes, it works, period.
So here's our game plan for this explainer. We're going to look at same-sex couples, then we'll dive into the world of polyamory. After that, we'll challenge that whole mating for life idea, and finally, we'll uncover some other amazing partnerships that are totally unconventional, but highly successful. All right, let's kick things off with a big one. We're so often taught that a breeding pair means one male and one female. But as it turns out, the natural world has a much broader definition of what a partnership can be.
Yeah, you're seeing that right. More than 130 species. I mean, think about that. That's not just a few isolated incidents. This is a common, well-documented behavior that we see in everything from tiny songbirds to massive geese and swans.
And for probably the best studied example of this, we've got to travel out to the Hawaiian Islands and meet the incredible Laysan Albatross. What researchers discovered happening in their colonies is honestly just remarkable. Just look at these numbers. In some colonies, where there happen to be more females than males, nearly a third of all the nesting pairs are two females. This isn't a fluke, it's a core part of their social structure.
And let's be clear, these are genuine, committed partnerships. They do the exact same elaborate courtship dances, they build nests together, and here's the kicker, they successfully raise chicks. So how does it work? Well, one of the females will mate with a male who's already paired up, but then she returns to her female partner, and the two of them do all the hard work of parenting. It's an absolutely brilliant cooperative strategy that makes sure more chicks survive, especially when there aren't enough males to go around.
Okay, so we've seen a pair doesn't always have to be male and female. But what if it doesn't always have to be just two birds either? Well, welcome to the fascinating world of avian polyamory. It really breaks down into two main styles. First up is polygyny. That's one male with multiple female partners. This is the setup we see most often. But then you have the rarer and, frankly, often more interesting polyandry. And that's where one female has multiple male partners, completely flipping the script on traditional roles. And this slide just illustrates the difference perfectly. On the left, you've got the classic red-winged blackbird. A top-notch male snags a great piece of real estate, and that attracts several females to nest there. He's basically the landlord and the security guard. But then on the right, the spotted sandpiper just turns that whole system on its head. The female is the one who establishes the territory. She lays a clutch of eggs for one male, leaves him to do all the parenting, and then she goes off to find another male and does it all over again. And then you have the most extreme end of the spectrum, with species like the sage grouse. The males all gather to do these incredible competitive dances. The females watch, pick the one they think is the best, they mate, and that's it. The relationship is over. There's no pair bond at all. The male provides literally nothing but his gene. So what about those classic monogamous birds we started with? Well, even for them, that whole till death do us part thing isn't always a guarantee. And sometimes staying together means spending most of the year on opposite sides of the planet. So, take the tiny blue tit. They're generally monogamous birds, but as you can see here, about 1 in 5 pairs will split up between seasons. Mating for life is often a lot more like mating for as long as it's working out for both of us. Which of course brings up the obvious question. Why split up? Is it just, a random falling out? Well, the science suggests it's actually way more strategic than that. The number one reason, the biggest predictor of a bird divorce, is a failed nesting season. I mean, it makes sense, right? If you two couldn't raise chicks together this year, the odds are you'll probably try with a new partner next year. Sometimes a better mate just comes along, or maybe one partner just isn't pulling their weight. The point is, it's often a calculated decision to improve their chances next time around. But divorce isn't the only challenge monogamous birds face. What about the pairs that do stay together, but have to endure the ultimate long-distance test, migration? They can spend way more time apart than they ever do together.
I mean, just try to wrap your head around this. The Arctic tern. Its annual round-trip journey from the Arctic to the Antarctic and back can be over 44,000 miles. A bonded pair will separate for this insane journey. They often take completely different routes, only to somehow reunite at the exact same little patch of ground the following spring. It's mind-boggling.
And this timeline for the osprey captures that cycle perfectly. In the spring and summer, they are a devoted team. But when fall comes, they go their separate ways. The male might spend his winter in Central America, while the female is way down in South America. Then the next spring, they both navigate completely independently back to the very same nest to pick up right where they left off. It's just an incredible feat of both navigation and commitment. Okay, for our final section, let's look at a few other types of partnerships that might seem a little unusual to us, but are actually super effective strategies for survival and reproduction out in the wild.
So let's talk about age gaps. In many birds of prey, it's pretty common to see a young, first-time mom female pair up with a much older, more experienced male. And it turns out, this is a fantastic recipe for success. The veteran male, he knows all the best hunting spots, he's a pro at defending the nest, and he basically teaches his younger partner the ropes, which leads to a much higher chance of them successfully raising chicks in that critical first year.
And this is a really crucial point. Not all bird relationships are about romance and reproduction. You have to draw a line between a reproductive partnership and a survival alliance. Just think about those mixed species flocks you see in the winter, where chickadees and nuthatches and woodpeckers all team up. They aren't mates, but they are absolutely partners in that daily struggle to find food and watch each other's backs for predators.
Okay, so let's recap the real story we've uncovered here. A partnership can absolutely be 2 females. It can be 1 male and 4 females. A lifelong bond can end in a very strategic divorce. And a successful relationship can mean having an experienced mentor as a partner, or even spending 8 months of the year a whole continent away from your mate.
Which leaves us with one final thought. None of these stories we've talked about, the same-sex albatross pairs, the polyandrous sandpipers, the divorced blue tits, none of them are stories of failure. They are all, in their own way, stories of success. So what does all this incredible diversity in the bird world teach us about what a successful partnership really is? Definitely something to think about. Thanks for tuning in to This Explainer.